Some people say, I want to go play baseball.
Right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff you got to ask yourself. You got to recommit to this game. Just like you sign a new contract, every time you get better as a player, I truly feel that you got to recommit and sign that contract with yourself
That single line from Kevin Durant, mixed with LeBron James laughing in the background, was all it took to blow the lid off the basketball world. You do not joke about Michael Jordan like that. Not ever. And in a wild turn nobody expected, NBA legends didn't just clap back at KD and LeBron, they dragged Bronny James straight into the blast zone too. This wasn't playful banter, this turned personal fast, and yeah, the details are messy. Let me break this down, because this wasn't just another podcast clip going viral. This was one of those rare moments that jumps off the screen and punches basketball culture right in the chest. It didn't happen on the court, there was no buzzer beater, no trophy involved, yet somehow it shook the entire legacy conversation to its core. Moments like this don't come often, and when they do, legends respond. This whole storm started with what was supposed to be a calm, thoughtful sit-down between two of the biggest stars of this era. On July 8th, 2025, Kevin Durant joined LeBron James on his podcast, Mind the Game, expecting a respectful hoops conversation, not a cultural explosion. For anyone unfamiliar, this podcast has become a serious platform in basketball media. After J.J. Redick stepped away to take over as head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron brought in two-time MVP Steve Nash to keep things sharp and cerebral. The show dives deep into mindset, preparation, recovery, and how the game keeps evolving at the highest level. Now in its third season, the podcast shifted even harder toward tactics and mental warfare, the stuff casual fans rarely hear about. Durant's appearance came in two parts, both recorded during the offseason before his move to the Houston Rockets, and early on, everything felt smooth. The first episode, released July 1st, 2025, covered Durant's scoring evolution, his respect for the Oklahoma City Thunder after their finals win over the Indiana Pacers, and the modern game's obsession with pace and spacing. He even gave flowers to his new coach, Ime Udoka, and talked about the return of the mid-range jumper. But the second episode, the one that aired July 8th, went somewhere dangerous. The conversation drifted into legacy, pressure, and what it really takes to stay elite year after year. Durant, always the thinker, talked about having to sign a new contract with yourself, a mental promise to keep grinding even when you've already won it all. And that's when things quietly started slipping out of control. And that's when Kevin Durant dropped a question that quietly flipped the entire conversation upside down. He asked what happens when you're 10, 12 years deep into your career, when you've stacked MVPs, championships, and already proven everything there is to prove. Do you still wake up wanting to do this every single day?
Yeah, I'm 10, 12 years in, I got 4 MVPs and 4 championships. Like, but do I still want to do this? You know what I'm saying?
You know how hard it is.
Some people say, I want to go play baseball.
Right?
Yeah. And then I want to come back. Or some people say, I'm going to go 22 straight. And you know what I'm saying? So it's a contract I feel like you got to have with yourself too, in order for you to be a, you know, great ball player or to have a long career. That's the goal, to be in the league for 20 years. I tell you, that's the goal. However you want to get there, but you got to recommit to yourself before you commit to him.
Now pause right there, because if you blinked, you missed the landmine. Durant wasn't just talking about motivation, he was sliding in a not-so-subtle reference that every serious basketball fan instantly caught. When he said, some people say, I want to go play baseball and then want to come back, the implication hit loud. That wasn't abstract philosophy. That was a direct nod to Michael Jordan stepping away in 1993. The message was clear without saying names. Jordan stepped away. Jordan took a pause. Jordan didn't grind straight through, and Durant wasn't finished. He immediately flipped the script and started praising the opposite path. The players who never left, who stayed locked in for over 2 decades without interruption. Everyone in that room knew exactly who he meant, and so did the audience. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. Jordan left the game and returned later, while LeBron James has played 22 straight seasons at an elite level and is now entering season 23. And right on cue, LeBron reacted with loud, uncontrollable laughter. Reports described him in stitches, giggling in the background while Durant's words landed like a quiet jab at the most sacred legacy in basketball. That laughter changed everything. What could have stayed a thoughtful discussion instantly felt disrespectful to a lot of people. That moment turned a casual podcast into a full-blown culture clash. Steve Nash kept the conversation flowing, but his voice faded once the clips hit social media and took on a life of their own. By July 9th, 2025, the clips were everywhere. Millions of views flooded platforms like X and YouTube, and the basketball world split clean down the middle. One side saw harmless banter, a relaxed comparison of different roads to greatness, with Durant clearly emphasizing long-term commitment rather than direct shots. But the other side, especially those protective of Jordan's legacy, saw something much darker. What Durant and LeBron appeared to overlook, or maybe chose not to acknowledge, was the deeply personal context behind Jordan's first retirement. In 1993, James R. Jordan Sr. was taken from his family during a violent robbery in North Carolina, an event that shook Michael to his core. He had always described his father as his closest guide, his anchor, and his biggest supporter. Jordan officially stepped away on October 6, 1993, citing exhaustion. But those close to the story understood the truth ran far deeper. Basketball had become emotionally unbearable during that period, even after a historic three-peat with the Chicago Bulls. His father had always dreamed of seeing him play professional baseball, and that dream suddenly carried immense emotional weight. And that context is exactly why many fans felt that laughter crossed a line. Michael didn't just stumble into baseball out of boredom, this ran deep. His father had introduced him to the sport when he was young and truly believed Michael had real talent there. In fact, their final conversations reportedly included long talks about stepping away from basketball and giving baseball a real shot, with his father excitedly pushing him, saying he should do it, go for it. That mattered, and it mattered a lot. So when Michael Jordan signed a minor league contract with the Chicago White Sox organization in February 1994 and suited up for affiliates like the Birmingham Barons, it wasn't some casual escape. It wasn't about being tired of basketball or ducking competition. It was personal, emotional, and rooted in honoring his father's dream while coping with overwhelming loss. Yes, Jordan's baseball run was short and the numbers were modest, batting around 200 in the minors. But everyone paying attention back then understood what it really was. This wasn't a vacation from pressure, it was a tribute, a way to process grief, and a way to stay moving forward when everything else felt impossible. And that's exactly why Kevin Durant's comment and LeBron James's laughter hit so hard for so many people. The internet reacted instantly and without mercy. One viral post summed it up bluntly, saying Jordan played baseball because it was his dad's favorite sport and how he handled losing his best friend, his father. Another post went even harder, calling it a wild shot at MJ when everyone knows it had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with family. One especially viral thread laid the contrast bare, saying some players lose a parent and chase a childhood dream, while others join a 73-win roster. That line reignited old criticism about Durant's own career choices and poured gasoline on the fire. Durant tried to calm things down starting July 10, 2025, responding on X to accusations of disrespect. He emphasized his admiration for Jordan, even pointing out that he owns over $1 million worth of MJ sneakers. He acknowledged that Jordan stepped away multiple times in 1993, 1998, and 2003, while still standing as the greatest ever. Durant framed it as respect for both paths, Jordan's dominance and LeBron's unmatched longevity. He summed it up by saying he loves basketball as a whole, while fans focus on individuals. But for a lot of people, that explanation came too late. The moment had already landed, the laughter had already echoed, and the internet wasn't moving on. And then the legends struck back. If Durant and LeBron thought this would fade quietly, they misread the room badly. Former players, analysts, and hardcore Jordan defenders came out swinging, refusing to let the moment slide. The first real punch came from Kwame Brown, an unexpected voice with real history. Brown was the #1 pick in the 2001 NBA draft, selected by Jordan himself when MJ was running the Washington Wizards. His career didn't meet expectations, and he spent years getting clowned across basketball media.
He was ignorant. LeBron, why you chuckling so hard when you're supposedly a student of the game? Michael Jeffrey Jordan won 3 championships in a row. He three-peated, jackasses. And his father got killed, murdered that summer. I think July, August or something like that. And then MJ retired in October and dedicated himself to baseball, which is a sport that his father wanted him to play. So that's why he played baseball. And he tried to commit himself and dedicate himself because he was in a mourning phase, you know, smart-ass idiots, because he lost his father that year. After he played baseball, was gone from the game for about a year or two, he came back and three-peated. So when you talk about dedication and greatness, at least know what the talking about while y'all chuckling and laughing and grabbing your ear, trying to trick this younger generation because y'all pieces of shit.
But lately, Brown has reinvented himself through his YouTube platform, Bus Life, becoming one of the loudest, most fearless commentators out there. And on this topic, he showed zero restraint. Brown went straight at Durant and LeBron, accusing them of ignoring the most critical context of Jordan's era. He said he couldn't believe two so-called students of the game missed the biggest detail of all, and that was only the beginning. But Kwame Brown wasn't finished, not even close. He made it crystal clear that Michael Jordan's baseball chapter had nothing to do with dodging competition or losing hunger. According to Brown, this was about grief, about a son honoring his father's final encouragement while trying to function through emotional chaos. That context mattered, and Brown wasn't letting anyone skate past it. His rant exploded online. Platforms like Ticket TV picked it up, clipped it, and blasted it everywhere, pushing the message even further. And Brown wasn't standing alone anymore. Three-time NBA champion Ron Harper, who actually won titles next to Jordan during the second three-peat, jumped in with his own indirect shot at the podcast. He posted bluntly that if someone stepped away 3 times and still won more than everyone else, that argument ends right there. The message hit hard. Even with pauses, Jordan still walked away with 6 championships, more than Kevin Durant's 2 and LeBron James's 4 combined. Then came Stacey King, another Bulls champion, who weighed in during August 2025 and didn't sugarcoat anything. He mocked Mind the Game, renaming it the Crimea River podcast, and accused Durant of sneak dissing Jordan while hiding behind talk of longevity. According to King, this wasn't subtle insight. This was coded disrespect. And analysts piled on fast. Veteran commentator Charles Barkley turned his podcast into a full breakdown of what he saw as hypocrisy. He questioned how Durant and LeBron could preach commitment when, in his view, their careers involved avoiding adversity instead of facing it head-on. He drew a sharp contrast between how Jordan endured the brutal Detroit Pistons era and how modern stars handled resistance. Barkley didn't stop there. He reminded fans that when Jordan arrived in Chicago, nobody was lining up to join the Chicago Bulls. The franchise wasn't glamorous, it was mocked. Jordan didn't run from that. He transformed it into a global powerhouse and one of the most iconic dynasties sports has ever seen. Meanwhile, LeBron's career path became part of the debate again. Moves from Cleveland to Miami, back to Cleveland, then to Los Angeles were framed by critics as evidence of relocating whenever situations got uncomfortable. Fair or not, that narrative roared back to life.
KD, who ran from OKC like a bat out of hell. Not only did he run from the grind and the commitment of trying to win for an organization that didn't really win nothing at all, you ran to the team that whooped your ass. That's like Jordan running to the Pistons, man. That's like Michael Jordan running to the Pistons or the Celtics. You ran to the dudes that put their goon down on you. Then you ran to Brooklyn. When things got hard in Brooklyn, what did you do? You ran again. But you're talking about committing to the grind? What are you even talking about?
Michael Jordan was averaging 30 10 times in his career, played all 82 games 9 times. 9 times an all-NBA first-team defensive player, a defensive player of the year, okay, a 6-time champion, a 6-time NBA Finals MVP, a 5-time MVP of the league, and in your 22nd or 23rd year, you still chasing. Now, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I think it's obvious who the GOAT is, in my estimation. You don't like me because you see me calling it like I see it. You're not Michael Jordan. You're not the GOAT. You did choke in an NBA Finals. 4 consecutive fourth quarters in an NBA Finals. This man was scoring 4 points. One game, he scored 0 points. In an NBA Finals, fourth quarter. with Jason Terry or J.J. Barea guarding you. There is no explanation for that. To anybody who knows basketball, that's a choke job.
Stephen A. also addressed the elephant in the room that Jordan loyalists always point to.
The loudest voice, as always, belonged to Stephen A. Smith. When the GOAT debate reignited, he laid out his case with ruthless efficiency. He rattled off accomplishments Jordan achieved that LeBron still hasn't matched after more than 2 decades in the league. But Stephen A. wasn't just talking numbers. He pointed to defining moments Jordan never had on the biggest stage. He highlighted the 2011 NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks as a turning point that still follows LeBron no matter how long his career lasts. Smith also tackled the issue Jordan loyalists always bring up, super teams. He said he never saw Jordan linking up with established stars the way LeBron joined Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami, or later teaming with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love in Cleveland, then Anthony Davis in Los Angeles. Jordan, Smith argued, built his empire through drafts and smart trades, not by coordinating player movement behind the scenes. Things even spilled off the screen. In March 2025, during a Los Angeles Lakers versus New York Knicks game, Smith and LeBron had a tense courtside exchange that went viral. It stemmed from Smith's earlier on-air commentary urging LeBron to protect his son from excessive spotlight during tough moments early in the season. The moment added even more heat to an already explosive debate. And by now, this wasn't just about basketball anymore. Stop this. That was the line Stephen A. Smith refused to walk back. He said what many people were already whispering, that Bronny James made it to the NBA because of his father. Smith later clarified that his criticism was aimed at LeBron James's decisions as a parent, not at Bronny as a person, but he stood firm on one thing. Bronny was put in an unfair position from day one. And that's where this situation spiraled into its most uncomfortable phase, because suddenly, the backlash stopped being about podcasts, laughter, or legacy debates, and started targeting the youngest person involved. Critics began tying LeBron's perceived arrogance toward Michael Jordan directly to the question of nepotism. The reaction was harsh. How could LeBron laugh at the greatest player ever, critics asked, when his own son was still trying to prove he even belonged on an NBA floor? This is where things got ugly fast. Bronny found himself caught in the middle of frustrations Jordan loyalists had been holding onto for years. A young player, trying to build his own identity, suddenly became the lightning rod for an argument he never asked to be part of. Let's be clear about Bronny's situation. He was selected 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2024 NBA Draft after a modest freshman season at USC, where he averaged just under 5 points per game. That season was heavily shaped by his recovery process following a serious medical incident, which limited both his role and rhythm. Critics argue that without his last name, Bronny likely wouldn't have been drafted at all, and almost certainly not by his father's team. The accusations of nepotism followed him immediately, but history was made anyway when Bronny and LeBron became the first father-son duo to appear together in an NBA game on opening night against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Behind the scenes, the controversy only grew. Bronny's agent, Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, who also represents LeBron, reportedly discouraged other teams from selecting Bronny by signaling he would consider playing overseas if drafted elsewhere. That effectively cleared the path for a Lakers selection, reinforcing the belief that only Los Angeles was ever truly in play. Then came the contract, and that's where eyebrows really went up. Bronny signed a 4-year deal worth roughly $7.9 million, fully guaranteed, with a team option in the final year. That kind of security is extremely rare for a late second-round pick. Most players selected around 55 typically receive 2-way contracts, partial guarantees, or short-term deals. Rich Paul reportedly rejected 2-way options outright, demanding a standard roster spot and guaranteed money.
We got Nepo baby. Homelander Jr., because LeBron is Homelander 1. Homelander Jr. sat out a preseason game.
And this ain't year 1, this is year 2. This don't make no sense. We got high school players better than Bronny. Absolutely got high school players better than Bronny. Bronny was never the best high school player on his team. He was never the best college player on his team. And he still gets 12 shots in a preseason game where everybody's auditioning, where nobody normally passes the ball. I'm watching a kid that they say is a defensive specialist, and they run the simple handoff at the 3-point line, This guy is not a streaky. This guy is not a shooter that he's guarding. The Suns is a horrible team, and I watched Bronny James chase the guy around the top of the three-point line, and the guy get a backdoor layup. For people that are saying that he's a defensive specialist, how? He don't even know regular defensive concepts.
That decision poured fuel on the fire. Former players and commentators, including Kwame Brown, leaned into the narrative hard. Brown even coined a nickname for Bronny that spread through certain corners of basketball social media, capturing what critics believe symbolizes favoritism in the modern league. On the court, the 2024 to 2025 season showed a player still searching for footing. Bronny appeared in roughly 30 games, averaging around 2 points, under 1 rebound, and about 1 to 2 assists per night in limited minutes. His shooting percentages hovered around 30% from the field and below that from deep. Those numbers only intensified scrutiny, even though his role and opportunities remained extremely limited. And that's the real tension at the heart of this story. Bronny didn't start this debate. He didn't laugh on a podcast. He didn't challenge a legacy. Yet here he was, taking heat from all directions while trying to survive his first year in the toughest league on the planet. And with the GOAT debate raging louder than ever, Bronny James became collateral damage in a war he never signed up for. At the NBA level, Bronny James's impact was minimal, and critics noticed immediately. Most of his minutes came during blowouts, late rotations, or short injury fill-ins, not meaningful stretches where games were on the line. And after one rough preseason outing against the Phoenix Suns, where he went 1 for 12 from the field and 1 for 8 from deep, Kwame Brown said he'd seen enough. But Brown didn't stop at box scores. He went deeper, questioning the entire foundation of Bronny's supposed strengths. One of the biggest selling points around Bronny had been defense, the idea that he was already NBA ready on that end. Brown broke down film from a Los Angeles Lakers matchup against the Portland Trail Blazers, where Bronny logged extended minutes but failed to score. According to Brown, what showed up on tape were repeated defensive lapses, late rotations, and positioning mistakes that pointed to deeper developmental issues. That said, the story shifted once Bronny dropped down to the G League. With the South Bay Lakers, he looked far more comfortable and confident. Over roughly 11 games, he averaged about 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and nearly 2 steals per game while logging heavy minutes. He flashed real upside, including a 30-point outing on December 12, 2024, a career-high 31 points on January 24, 2025, and a season-best explosion of 39 points with 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and a block against the Santa Cruz Warriors. Those performances forced coaches to take notice. Lakers head coach J.J. Redick publicly praised Bronny's work ethic and growth, saying after a 17-point NBA performance in March that Bronny is going to be an NBA player. That endorsement carried weight inside the organization. But for critics like Brown, none of it changed the argument. The G League wasn't the NBA, and success there didn't erase struggles at the highest level. To them, Bronny's roster spot still looked like politics over performance, a symbol of influence outweighing readiness.
I love my boy. I love him. Yeah. But when Michael Jordan took off with that tongue out, hold up, listen, because a lot of you wasn't born then. 1991 against my Lakers, right hand. We thought we had him. He looked as we went down. He switched it to the left hand. Tongue went left. Spun it against the glass and good. There's nobody alive that's been able to do just that. That boy is too bad, I'm telling you right now. But LeBron is a bad boy too. He's a bad boy, but he's not Michael.
He's the only man that had me terrified on the court. Because I went from high school admiring him, college admiring him, and then he's right there in front of you. And all the shit you see on your poster, like he's doing it in real life. Like he came by me so fast one time, I was like, oh.
Meanwhile, the broader GOAT debate that Kevin Durant reignited continued to rage across every platform imaginable. The case for Michael Jordan remained brutally simple. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, and a flawless finals record. He averaged 30.1 points per game for his career, still the highest ever, and an absurd 33.4 in the playoffs. 10 scoring titles, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and an aura that opponents openly feared. Jordan wasn't just dominant, he was relentless. He imposed pressure mentally as much as physically and never allowed a final series to reach a 7th game. That ruthless edge became the backbone of his legend. On the other side, LeBron James supporters leaned on versatility and longevity, a 6'9" force capable of playing and defending all 5 positions. He has led finals teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, most famously during the 2016 comeback against the 73-win Golden State Warriors. He holds the all-time scoring record and has more All-NBA selections than anyone in history. Still, the 4 wins and 6 losses in the finals compared to Jordan's perfect 6-0 remains the dividing line for many fans. That divide was echoed by Magic Johnson, who spoke at InvestFest in Atlanta in September 2025. Magic recalled a single moment from the 1991 finals that sealed Jordan's greatness in his mind forever. One play that combined athleticism, intelligence, and cold-blooded execution in a way only Jordan could deliver. And with stories like that resurfacing, the firestorm showed no signs of slowing down. Magic Johnson has never wavered on this topic, and he made that crystal clear once again. Speaking at that same event, Magic laid it out plainly, saying, "It's Michael Jordan first, then LeBron, then Kareem. We haven't seen anybody do what Michael could do." That wasn't disrespect. That was perspective from someone who lived it. Magic didn't dismiss LeBron James either. He praised LeBron as special in his own way, called him a bad boy on the court, and acknowledged his greatness. But when it came down to the final verdict, Magic stood firm. When all is said and done, it's still MJ at the top. Then Shaquille O'Neal added something stats could never measure. Shaq talked about fear. Not respect, not admiration, fear. He explained that Michael Jordan carried an aura that shook opponents before the ball even went up. Shaq went from having Jordan posters on his wall to standing across from him on the court, and that transition changed everything. And this debate doesn't stop at basketball. It spills into culture, money, and legacy. Jordan's unchallenged GOAT status for more than 2 decades turned the Jordan brand into a global machine, generating an estimated $6.6 billion in revenue in fiscal 2025 alone. LeBron's lifetime Nike deal, valued at over $1 billion, reflects unmatched longevity. But the constant not quite Jordan framing has limited the cultural dominance of his signature line. Player polls show the gap narrowing. One recent survey had Jordan at 45.9%, with LeBron gaining ground fast, especially among younger fans. That generation values longevity, versatility, and adaptability in an era with more spacing, less physicality, and a very different game. And that's the real story behind this entire blow-up. This wasn't just about rings or averages, it exposed generational fault lines. It showed how personal loss intersects with greatness, and how the modern obsession with controlling narratives can crash straight into raw emotion from those who lived through the Jordan era. Kevin Durant and LeBron thought they were having a relaxed conversation about commitment. What they actually did was pour gasoline on a fire that's been burning for over 20 years. And in the process, Bronny James got pulled into a storm he never asked for, becoming a target for frustration that had nothing to do with his character. Now the questions are unavoidable. Will Durant's clarification that he respects Jordan be enough to calm critics? Will LeBron's laughter fade from memory? And most importantly, can Bronny carve out his own identity and step out of the shadow cast by this controversy? Only time will answer that. But one thing is guaranteed. In the never-ending clash between Jordan's perfection and LeBron's longevity, there are no final winners. Just endless debate, passionate defenders, and a game that continues to divide us, even as it keeps us glued together. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, click one of the videos on your screen now and keep the conversation going.